walking in on a Saturday night. Walked to the bar, grabbed a Miller Lite, and I was on the stage singing my songs with the boys.
Why is comedy the thing that you gravitate to? Like, was it always something that was instilled in you? Was it something kind of random that came?
You know, what's really funny, and it came back to me. I was doing a show in Fort Pierce, South Dakota, with Christy Noem was the governor at the time, and that's where they were at, and there was something there. I remember she was sitting up front, and her husband and teasing it because she was going to run for vice president at the time, or was in rumor.
Yeah.
So he's doing the show there, and I had some friends that had come in, and one of my friends reminded me of a show, and it was when she was Miss Rodeo South Dakota, and then was running for Miss Rodeo America that year. But we were good friends and grown up all the way through. And I remember I was at Pro Rodeo in Belfouge, just going to kind of, my traveling partner was doing PRCA and PBR. So we went to that rodeo, and it was the year she'd won the Miss Rodeo South Dakota. And she said, the show Last Comic Standing came out that year.
Yeah.
And she goes, I always thought she goes, I thought you'd be on that show. And that's the first time I thought, okay, I can be a comedian. But I never thought more beyond that. Like it was that was the seed planted. And it was her saying that. Like, remember way back then we talked about this because she came to that show that night and we were sitting there. I was like, I actually do remember that now. So that seed had been planted there. So I'd always kind of been funny, and my dad's funny and my brother's funny. Like all of us are just funny and just kind of have that thing. But I'd never really thought much of it. And then it was kind of that thing of I want to be wherever God wants me to be. And it was 2018, 2019 or something. I was driving, and it really was a God-given thing because it would come out of left field. I was driving down the road, and I've been praying a lot. I was in the middle of a fast, and I've been praying, God, what do you want me to do next? Like I was in a frustrated spot ministry wise where I was like, I just want to leave ministry. I want to be around. I don't want to be around anymore. I don't want to be tired of it.
Yeah.
And I remember I'm driving down the road where my wife and I are driving to her family in El Paso, and I driving down that long stretch of I-10 that's just boring and long and it's quiet, and I just hear God say, all right, I want you to be a comedian. And I immediately was like, yeah, I ain't gonna do that. Like there ain't no, like, my whole life I've had a target on my back. You either love me or you hate me, and the people that love me, and the people that hate me, they literally get together just to talk bad about me. And I'm like, I do not want to paint. Like, you want to talk about get ridiculed? Hey, I'm going to go be a comedian,
Yeah.
And so I was like, not going to do it. And we're 5 minutes later, my wife goes, have you ever thought about being a comedian? Like, I really feel like,
wow.
I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, now I'm kind of thinking a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'm about 10 more miles down the road, and one of my best friends from rodeo calls.
Yeah.
And he said, dude, he goes, this is the wildest thing. I said, I was just praying, and I felt like I needed to call and say, you know what you need to do? Because I'd been talking to him about the ministry stuff. He said, you know what you need to do? You need to be a comedian.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like that's, and I was like, okay. So I have a 12-hour drive. I'm going to write comedy. And so 12-hour drive back, I'm writing comedy, and I'm like, and where I knew it was my dad. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna call my dad. I'm gonna say, I'm thinking about doing this. And he's going to be like, he's going to really make fun of me. Like, oh, you're an idiot. And he goes, yeah, I've been waiting for you. Like, my mom, your mom and I thought forever that you would do something like
That's
this.
crazy, dude.
So I'm like, okay. I'm like, my dad's behind it. My dad was so behind it. He's like, I'm gonna bring you up, and I'm maybe do comedy at our churches.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've never done any comedy. And he calls all of his friends who are pastors. He's like, I want you to come. And so my comedy career started with my dad calling in favors to all of his pastor friends in South Dakota, and me going around and doing comedy at those, because my dad was so behind it and has been behind it. When I headlined in Vegas my first time, my dad was there.
That's awesome.
And it was like, it was just this thing of the support. Like that type of a thing.
It's very important.
Yeah, it's very important, because a lot of people in comedy don't have support from their family or their friends.
A lot of musicians don't have that either.
Yeah, and you don't, and it's like, why are you doing this? What are you doing? And and getting to see, like getting to now make money doing this.
Yeah.
And actually get destroyed in taxes.
Yeah.
Because I made enough money that the government's like, oh, you owe us a lot because it's entertainment. So now I hope the IRS doesn't watch this, but I'm gonna start labeling. I'm gonna start labeling my comedy.
What was their Twitter account?
I'm gonna label my comedy under motivational speaking, because that's taxed way lower percentage than entertainment is. So I'm like, I got slammed with taxes this year, but it's like, man, it's to be able to do it. I remember listening to Jeff Foxworthy say one time, You know, when I make $10,000 in comedy one time, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm starting to get there. When I make $100,000 in 1 year, I am there.
Yeah.
And he's like, now I'm making that double that per show. And he's like, just blows your mind to think about it. And I remember thinking to me the first time I make 10,000, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make that $10,000. Okay, you know, and then you know, and then you start doing the speaking, and you're like, these companies are gonna pay you that to get up and talk for 45 minutes. You know, like I mean,
I don't know what I would do if I seen a check from a venue that says $10,000. I'd be like, Reno.
Let me put it this way, like that blows me away.
next.
Like motivational speaking right now, some of these companies bringing me in, and essentially is breaking down to $15,000 an hour,
That's insane.
and I'm like sitting here going,
I'd lose my shit.
I'm like, I'm like, all you people say I talk too much. Eat that, you know, like eat.
Look
that.
at me now.
But it's also that thing of I've gone through a lot, and I've been speaking I started speaking when I was 15, so this is something I've been building, and it took me speaking at a Texas music industry conference, and just speaking, doing what I do, but taking it half-heartedly and not, and an agent being there that was a high-end motivational speaker going, I believe you can be one of the best in the world at this. And he told me, he said, he goes, I think you could be making 50 to 100,000 per speaking gig doing this. He said, I believe in you that much. And he said, I think you have enough of a story, but you also can speak articulate enough, and you're smart enough, and all this different stuff. And so, like, it took him believing in me and saying, but we are going to throw everything out, you know, and we're going to start over. And so it took that to take it to the next level. Like, it was that whole deal. And so Russ has been just a godsend to me in that. And so, it's but the comedy thing, like, I had this conversation with Johnny W last night, and if you don't know Johnny W, you need to go watch him. The dude he's hilarious. He's Nate Bargatze's kind of one of his main guys. You know, he's touring now with Nate Bargatze and Jimmy Fallon and all these guys, like, and he deserves every bit of it. But I was talking to him last night, and I was telling him, like, one of my biggest things, he's like, why'd you stop posting videos? Because when I was posting videos, my social media was taking off. And I've always been in the ministry mind of, if you're putting spotlight on yourself, you need to step back because it's all about God. And I'm like, I've struggled with that. I don't want to promote myself. I don't like promoting myself. And he's like, but that's this business. You have to do that. And so my mentality is, I don't care if people go, oh, I know him, that comedian. I recognize him. There's that Nick. I don't want that. I don't want that notoriety. If that happens, awesome. If that's what it takes for me to crop dust the White House, the Oval Office, then I'll do whatever that takes to crop dust the Oval Office. But it's the motivational speaking side of it, like, it took people telling me, like, they had to convince me, because I'm like, there's people who are going through way worse than what I've gone through in my life, but it took them realizing that I have to buy into, I can still help people with this. And then now I've been starting doing that and having people come back and say, hey man, like, you really spoke to me, like, speaking at a deal and having a guy come back and say, man, I just found out my wife has cancer. And I was like, the world's going to end. And he's like, man, if he could fight through this, and if he, you know, I've been bitter. I've been getting bitter about this. Like, why is she going to, you know, why is she going to die? And why is she gonna, and hearing that, okay, not I've had my moments to pout about this. Now, what are we going to do moving forward? It's happened. It's there. You know, and being able to speak that into people and have them come back and say what I'm going through. I just got fired. I just got, like, that drives me more than a paycheck does. Like, you know, I'm making good money doing comedy too. Like, I'm making 5 figures, you know, a show doing comedy, a good 5 figures, you know, and it's like, okay, each show I'm starting to make, like, where I'm not pinching together for pennies. And so an agent that's booked me with a lot of shows was like, hey, I've got a retirement home that requested you specifically, but they can only pay $150. I'm like, first of all, my biggest thing I struggle with in comedy is talking too fast, and older people have a struggle with that. So I'm one of those, if I have a weakness, I want to take it head on. So what a better place to go than an old folks home with an average age of 90 to, like, slow down and be like, okay, we're going to have to make y'all laugh. But like,
it really brings
opens
you back.
it up. Yeah, it opens it up where I can do things like this now, where I can actually do it to bless people.
Yeah, and it brings you back to, like, I think a lot of people that get big in a certain industry, whether it's comedy or music or even movies and acting, they get so big that they stop thinking about where they came from or the little stuff.
Well, a lot of it
things
too
like
is
that.
Your agents won't let you.
Yeah,
Because we can't charge this guy $10,000 and then you go do this for $100. We can't do that because that's unfair to the guy that just paid you 10,000.
Right.
Yeah.
So there is that side of it. And I've talked with some country music guys that are making 50 to 100,000 a show.
Yeah.
And that is a struggle to them because they get hit with the well, you forget about the little guy, and it's like, you don't understand. I can't
Yeah.
do what I used to do. I used to do those shows for free because I could. I
Yeah.
can't do that now. And I'm gonna tell you, like, a lot of those guys, it breaks their hearts that they can't, because they're getting ripped by the people at home. And it's like, do you realize, like, I was giving you free shows?
Yeah.
I was doing this stuff for you for free as a favor, like when I couldn't afford it.
Mhm.
You don't think I would do it now when I can afford it if I could? Like, I was doing it for you when I was struggling, when I was eating ramen, and not even putting water in it because I couldn't afford the water.
Yeah.
Like, it was like,
It's like I always wanted to, for music, like I always wanted to do, like I always told myself, and I never tell myself if I make it, it's when I make it.
yeah,
I always wanted to run a tour where I called it Back to the Basics.
Yeah.
Where I go back home and I play all those venues
hmm
for what they can afford.
yeah,
But now that you're telling me, like, and it hasn't happened for me yet, but like that really sucks
Yeah.
because you want to go back to where you came from and give thanks to those people that gave you the start. Like, I have a guy, we don't play there much anymore. Just because he's not doing a lot of live music, but for the longest time, and even still to this day, I keep my rate the same for him. Like, I've changed my rates,
yeah.
and I
Yep.
kept it this is the same exact because he was the very first place that I got my start.
Yeah, I still to this day, the guys that booked me to begin with, they're like, "How much do you charge now?" I said, "How much do I charge you?" I charge you the same that I charged you 5 years ago.
Because he gave me my very first
Yeah.
actual show.
Yep.
And like that was my thank you to him, was just, I'll never charge you extra.
Yeah.
He offered me a certain price for the band. I was like, if
Mhm.
that's what you're offering, we'll take it, But as far as my
Yeah.
solo shows, that's where they're going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to charge you because I went up on my solo shows too. And like, I'm never going to charge you any more
Yeah.
than what I charged you in the
And
beginning.
I think there's integrity in that, but you'll get to a place where if you sign with a major record label, they won't let you do that.
Yeah.
And I understand the thought process behind it.
It's unfortunate, but yeah.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate part of the business, and I understand that, and I wish it wasn't a part of the business, and it is. And I'm like, I hope that if I ever get to that point, that I would look at that and say, I'll go with somebody else, because to me, I'm doing this to bless people, and
Yeah.
and it's not about putting my name out there and getting my name on things and doing, like, I just want to bless.
I want to be the guy, like, I want to get to the point where I'm the guy they're like, oh no, you can't do this. But like, oh, why? I can.
Yeah.
This is me. I
Yeah.
can.
I
Watch
want
me
to
do
get
it.
big enough where you're like, is it Luke Bryan that he'll do that type of stuff?
Cody
Like,
Johnson.
Yeah,
Cody
Cody,
Johnson's
yeah.
that way.
Yeah.
When Cody, from what I read and heard, when he went, they were told, and now don't correct me, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but like they said, you want to sign him because he's gonna do what he set out to do, whether you're there or not. And they're like,
Yeah.
if he takes off
And
that
he's
hat,
another guy that brings along.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a lot of friends that he's brought along, and like, oh shoot, who's the girl from Louisiana that's like blowing up?
Lainey Wilson.
Lainey. Yeah. So like Lainey.
Don't ask me how I knew that.
Yeah. So my
I think the accent's so there. You're
well,
like,
like,
you
so
gotta know.
my brother was one of the first people to give her like a paying gig. And when my brother does a show, like, he brings a lot of guys up to South Dakota, and like, a lot of these guys going to South Dakota now. My brother's the first. Like, my brother brought AW up and Cody up and Casey up, and he's like, he's bringing these guys up before they're like, and now all of them are going up there, and they're all going up there and doing stuff. And a lot of them will say Nate's the guy that brought me up there, but he brought Lainey up to do and to open for somebody else when she was unknown. And when he brings you up, he's like, all right, your crowds, he's going to start posting their music, and everybody's going to start listening to it. So she stepped out to sing, and it was the first time that people sang the song back to her. And she went back in the bus, and she did the video of just bawling of, I can't believe, like, and that was my brother's rodeo that my
Mine
dad
wouldn't be on the bus. I
Yeah.
wouldn't make it to the bus.
Well, she was with you opened for him. Shoot, he's been around forever. Right? Or you were going to open for him or something.
Mike Ryan?
No, Neil
McCoy.
McCoy.
Yeah.
She was with Neil McCoy. So he brought Neil McCoy in, and Neil was like, I got this girl that's going to be big. He's like, but will you pay her to come too? And Nate's like, if you say it, I will. And so it's been fun to watch, like, someone like Lainey, where you take off. Like, I love watching those types of deals. My brother's really big on, once they make it big, he's like, okay, they made it big, I'm going on to the next person. And he's friends with, like, a lot of these guys. Like, they all come into town. Like, the famous the video they got AW in trouble when he shot the 150 pounds of Tannerite with a sniper rifle. That was that was out at the ranch with my brother, where like a lot of them, they come out and they go out because it's the middle of nowhere and you can do that type
Yeah.
of stuff. And so like a lot of these guys, they, he's friends with a lot of them when Casey's in town, it's like, hey, you're my gambling buddy. So he calls them up and they go to Deadwood together, and they're up there doing all that stuff. And so like Nate, my brother's like real tight in that business,
Yeah.
and he's all about bringing guys in to get them to that
And that's a
next
good
level.
thing. And that's like one of the
Yeah.
big things my mom and dad feared with me going into music. They support it,
Mhm.
even when they can't make it. Like
Yeah.
my mom, she's at all our shows and stuff like that. And like my dad, he works, so he can't make it all the time. He tries when he can. But like their biggest fear was like, you're the type of person that can do the music
Yeah.
and succeed at it, but you're also the type of person that's going to be on TMZ every day.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
absolutely. I will be on my
Yeah.
front porch, stark naked, going to the bathroom
Yeah. Yeah.
because I don't care. Get
Yeah.
a picture.
Yeah.
Take a couple,
I I am, and I've had this conversation with other guys that are like really big, because they'll say to me like, you're not like, I want to bless you. I want to go do stuff with you, not because of what you can do for me. What can I bring to the table for you? And I'll
Mhm.
ask them that. What can I bring to the table for you? Like, I'm not here for you to further my career. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I'm going to put your name on my stuff. Like, hey, I opened for this guy, but I want to bless you.
Yeah.
Like, it takes these guys back a lot, because they're like, everybody that wants something from me.
Yeah.
And they don't, and when you say it, yeah, everybody says that. No, you don't understand. Like, I'm wanting you to succeed. Like, I've got a friend that I love. This is a great example. We brought B Reith into our youth group when he was first kind of blown up, and he said, hey, I've got a DJ from Dallas. He said, can he come DJ for me?
Mhm.
And he's like, I don't want to ask what it's going to cost. I said, no, we'll pay him. And so this guy comes down. His name's Carlos Trevino.
Yeah.
And Carlos comes in, and I hand him a check, and he said, you're the first person to ever pay me to do this. He said, I'm doing this to try to get my name out there. And they call him DJ Promote is his
Yeah.
name, because he's always promoting everybody else. And so we had this conversation. We hung out for a few days and just hung out and did stuff with me, him, and Brian. And he's talking about how he just promotes people. And I said, there's biblical to that, where you lift other people, God's going to bless you in that. And he's
Yeah.
all like, I'm just trying to promote everybody else. I'm just trying to push everybody else. And so he's promoting everybody. He's like, and so I don't make money because I'm promoting everybody else. Well, then we bring KJ52 back. Well, guess who his DJ is DJ Promote. And he's like, now I'm getting paid
Yeah.
to start doing stuff. And so we're talking about this again, and we're having this conversation. We're hanging out for another couple of
Yeah.
days and just go fishing, and
Yeah.
we're out on the boat and just doing, just having fun. And then while we're on the boat, he gets a call, and it was when Lecrae was really blowing up. And Lecrae goes, my DJ just got puking sick.
Yeah.
Can you fill in for me? And I told him, I said, God's going to promote you. You're promoting everybody else. God's going to promote you. So
Yeah.
he goes and he starts opening for Lecrae. Well, now he's Lecrae's guy.
Yeah.
And now, he's been on Jimmy Fallon. Carlos he's been like all over the place. Well, we reconnected on Instagram the other day, and I was like, man, it's so cool to watch.
Yeah.
Where God's taking your career, where you're like not just even the Christian rap world, like in the regular rap world, like you're doing these massive places and all these, because you were promoting other people. God's like,
Yeah.
I'm going to promote you too.
Yeah.
And so I've taken that same approach with comedy of like, I get the opportunity to do a show. All right, who can I promote? Who can I bless? Who can I, like Royce Moore is a guy that I just got a big heart for.
Oh, I love Royce.
Yeah, and I've got a big heart for him, so I'm gonna take Royce with me everywhere, because I know, number one, he
He's so
respects
funny
me.
too.
Well, it was one week I took him to Lincoln, Nebraska with me, and we stopped in at in Oklahoma City, did a show, and then went, and we get out of the car, and he's grabbing my bags and wheeling them. I'm like, what are you doing? He said, well, I grew up in the baseball world. I'm the rookie. I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you've been doing comedy longer than me. He said, yeah, but you're the headliner. And
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I'm taking you.
Yeah,
but
that's
it's
cool.
that thing of like, okay, now when I'm with Bob Smiley, hey, I'm carrying your
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
I'm like, I'm gonna like that spoke to me of that's what I need
Yeah.
to do. And so it's like, I want to have that same mentality with comedy, with the motivational speaking. Like, you know what? Yes, I'm making this much doing motivational speaking, but then the A&M, one of their can't remember what they call them, but they do stuff for first responders.
Mm.
And they'd reach out. I knew if one of the first responders is in it, your dad works with him.
Yeah.
He was said, hey, we're doing this mental health awareness thing, and we'd really like to bring you in. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I know what I have to pay agents. That's what I'm going to charge you, and then whatever it's going to cost me to go there.
Yeah.
And because I'm not going to charge you what that is, because I want to give back to you guys who are pouring everything you've got into this type of stuff. And then I have another motivational speaking friend of mine. He's like, oh, dude, no, those pay, like those first responder deals, like you can get 15,000 a gig from them. And I said, well, I'm not going to, because they're giving everything. I'm not going to hose them. Like,
Yeah.
go pay someone else for that. And then so I've got all my stuff paid, and I was like, you know what, I want to get Royce in front of these people. So I called Royce up and said, hey, can you come with me and do the show with me, and I'm going to pay you. I'm losing money on it, but I'm like, that's my kind of thing where I'm like, I'm going to give into that, and it's going to be, God's going to bless me for more on the other side of that, you know, because I'm going to have more doors open. So like, you know, I say what I'm making doing motivational speaking, but like, honestly, like I just want to bless people.
Right.
And if I can do it, if there's a corporation out there or a business or a real estate or even just a church or a school, I'll work with you. I'm not going to lose money doing it anymore. I'm past that.
Yeah.
But I'm also going to get what you can give, you know, but I'm not going to, my heart, one of the things I hate the most is comedy, when churches reach out to me for comedy.
Yeah.
And they ask, you know, what's your price? And I give them a price. And they'll be like, oh, that's way too much. And I was like, well, this is the least amount I can do, because I have to pay this much out. Like this, I have to pay out. So if I do this, I'm going to be breaking even.
Yeah.
Well, can you do it for $50?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you understand how this works. Well, we're a church. You can donate it right off. And I'm like, if every church that called me and asked me, do you know how much money I'd be in the hole? Like, I understand that, and I want to give, but the ones I give to are the ones that are not like pulling that card over top of you, like, oh, you need to come do this. Like, you know, like I've had people that we've blessed, like, or we bless them with stuff, because I'm in this to be a blessing. Like I just booked a really high paying gig, and the guy that I'm doing as an agent says, you know, he's like, I don't even want you to pay me. I was like, well, what percentage can I convince you? Because I'm not, a man's worth his deal. So he's like 5%.
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, I'm typically paying 20% for comedy. So I know if I'm doing a motivational speaking, it's 20%. So we got 15% left over. Okay, God, who are we going to bless with this 15%?
Yeah.
Who, like, my kids have sacrificed a lot. I'm going to take them out for a nice dinner. That's why we missed your wedding. I hated that we missed that, but it was the only time I'd have them all together. But I'm like, we're going to bless them. And then there's some other people we're going to bless. And I'm going to take that. And so anytime I only have to pay 5%, all right, there's another 15% I have to pay that's going to go to somebody else. Okay, God, who we're going to bless with that on top of our tithe, on top of our giving, because I want to do this to bless people. Like, people are always like, oh, you make a lot of money. Where's your money at? We give it all away. Like, I don't think you understand. My wife and I, like, our philosophy in life is, if I've got it, I'm giving it, because there's somebody else that needs blessed with it. And it's hard for me to spend money on myself.
You can't take it with you when you go anyways.
Well, and it's not even as much as that is. It's just that people have blessed me so much along the way. Like when we lost our house in Hurricane Harvey, you know, the FEMA came in and said, oh man, a lot of water come through the roof. You know, we can't cover anything, because we don't know what come through the roof and what come to the floor, but your insurance will cover it. Go to the insurance. They said, oh man, a lot of water come from underneath and you're not covered for flood.
Mm-hmm.
So neither of them want to pay for it. And our house, both of them said, your house is totaled. Shouldn't be living in this, but we couldn't afford to live anywhere. We still owed $120,000 on the place. And the amount of people who just started blessing us, and Taco Bell, you know, saying, hey, we're going to give you $10,000 just to replenish stuff. And like all these people coming and blessing. And it's like, okay, whenever I'm at a spot where I can bless, I'm gonna turn around and I'm gonna bless people too. And it's always been that. When I was riding bulls, it was always, you know, hey guys, whose entry fees can I pay? If I'd win a big check, you know, we're gonna, you know, bull riding, you have the whole deal. You have to have steak and potatoes when you win your first big check. And I got rookied so bad because I want a big check, and we're like, steak and potatoes. And we go to this restaurant, and they just, I mean, these guys are ordering everything, the wine, the steaks, and I pay all this stuff, and then Cody wins the next check. And I was like, all right, steak and potatoes. And he pulled in a gas station and got beef jerky and potato chips. And I'm like, you dirty dog. So, but anyways.
That's kind of what I want to cover before we got out of here. But you've kind of covered it organically already. Is like, you know, what drives you now. But it's obviously that, you know, you're blessed to be a blessing.
That is my mentality. Blessed to be a blessing. Yeah.
So what's next on the radar? Like, are you
the motivational speaking? The motivational speaking has really kind of, the comedy's taken a little bit of a back seat because we've had to focus so much energy on the motivational speaking.
Yeah.
And Russ told me when he started, he said, listen, I love that you do comedy, but he said, my goal is you make enough doing motivational speaking that comedy, you just do it because you can do it.
Yeah.
And I'm not out promoting myself or anything. And so I was really kind of at an impasse, really trying to figure out if I needed to move to Nashville. Because that's where the clean comedy capital is, and that's got to be my next step for comedy. So we really prayed a lot about it. my wife actually had a job offer that was that she was up for that was going to make us move to Nashville. It's like, okay, this is where God's wanting us to go.
Yeah.
And I was really praying about it. It's like, God, I need to know one way or the other. And before I even got done saying that, she got an email that said, you're no longer in contention for this. So we're going in another direction. So I was like, okay, we're going to stay here. So she just took a job. I can't announce it. Well, how long is this going to be till this comes out?
June 5th.
Okay. They're building a new campus for Splendora.
Okay.
And it's gonna be 5 miles from our house, and she's gonna be a
heck
science
yeah.
teacher. Yep. So she just took
That's
it. So
awesome.
y'all are stuck with us for a while. We're gonna stay here. So she's gonna be at that new campus in Splendora. And
Somewhere working close to me.
yeah. And so she'll be it's literally 4.8 miles from our house.
Yeah.
And so boy, she's been driving to Tarkington now. It's comedy. I just want to be where God wants me to be. I've often said I'm doing comedy to be a blessing,
Mhm.
and if God tells me to stop, I don't care where I'm at, I'll stop.
Yeah.
But I still love it. I didn't like it at first. I love it now, especially getting to do large crowds. Like when you're doing a large enough crowd, and the same with music, or you're playing music and the claps are throwing you off because it's delayed. Same thing with comedy, where it's the delayed laugh that flows through. It's like, God, it's addicting.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
had
so
that
much
last night.
fun. Yeah, and it's just, and so I've fallen in love with the art of comedy and the challenge of comedy. It's challenging because comedy has a way of correcting yourself. You get a standing ovation one night, you're gonna bomb. It's coming. Like it's coming. Like you get standing ovation, like I've got this, and then you're gonna bomb. Like it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
And
music
so,
is like that sometimes too. It's like one night you'll play packed house, everybody's involved, like engaging, and the next night there's 3 people in there, and like none of them even look like they want to be there.
yeah,
Or it's even worse when one night, like there's been shows where we're playing to a packed house and we're just having the time of our life. We're up there smiling, giggling, messing with each other, just having a good time. And then the very next night, it's a packed house.
Yeah.
And not a person in there even has a care in the world.
Yeah.
And it'll correct you.
So comedy's a lot like that. You'll do a lot of like bar shows and stuff where they'll bring you in, and like my goal is, and it was Jeff Garcia told me this. He was the voice of uh Estevez.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for Jimmy Neutron, and then Pip the Mouse on the back of the barnyard. And he's who taught me to write comedy. And he told me, he said, laughter's not your best friend in comedy. Silence is your best friend in comedy. Because in silence, they're hanging on to your every word.
Yeah.
So when you do a bar show and there's a lot of talking, a lot of stuff, he said the sound of silence is the best sound you can have because they're waiting on what you have to say.
Yeah.
And so I've really embraced that. And then it was either Bob Smiley or Tim Hawkins or one of them guys told me, they said, the best advice I can give you, and they told me this when I first started. So I'm like, okay, I've learned this now. Like, I'm glad I learned this early. If you go into it and say, I'm going to get a laugh out of the crowd, you're going to be on a roller coaster of emotions.
Yeah.
But if you go into it saying, I'm going to give laughs, even if you're bombing, you're going to find someone you're giving that laugh to.
Yeah.
And so you get up and you're like, that person needs to laugh today. And so now it's a gift of laughter rather than a gift of what are you giving me? It's what can I give to you? And so that's my mentality of being a blessing is like, I just want to do this. I want to do this to be a blessing to people. And so so right now, motivational speaking, like I would love for that to take off more because it pays really good. Like it pays really good.
All right. So real quick,
And you might get to the Oval Office.
Yeah.
before we wrap it up, get out of here. Go and tell Zach and Taylor that still ball story.
Okay. Well,
ready.
I'm sure you all have stupid friends. I mean, you're sitting next to one. So
I was going to say, I'm looking across at one.
So we all
Love him, though.
stupid's a strong word. I don't like to call it because that's a strong word. It's a smart choice challenge.
That's even worse.
Yeah. So you know what I'm talking about.
Zach and
Most people, you hear somebody say, we're at a pool party and be funny is to jump off of the roof into the pool. Most people are like, okay, yeah, there's like 20 feet. You're not going to make the pool. Your smart choice challenge already got the ladder against the wall. Like that's your friend. So I got one.
That's me.
Yeah. And I've got one who is like, he's the king of them. To give you an idea, he's up in Montana and he's driving down the road and there's a moose in the wild. And he's like, I'm going to get a selfie on a wild moose. Well, moose are not small animals.
No.
And he runs out there and jumps on the back of this. Well, he didn't even get to the moose. He's trying to jump on the back of this moose. She kicks him, gets him down while she's laying on her baby and just mauls the fire out of him. Breaks a bunch of bones in his face, ribs, arms, like mess him up. Kicker, he'd left the cell phone in the car. Didn't even get the selfie on it. So this is the idea of who he is. So fast forward to him. He's at a party and he's been drinking. And what's the one thing that accelerates smart choice challenges is alcohol. And so he's, for some reason, he's rummaging around their house, and he finds a Colt 45 pistol. Never checks if it's loaded. And he goes walking around the house going, "I'm a cowboy. Look at me, I'm a cowboy." He shoved it in his pants, and the gun went off.
Mm.
Now, if you're saying to yourself, if he shoved it in his, yes, where there was two, there's now one.
Yes.
Ranch speak, he's now half bull, half steer. City speak, he's now half Bruce Jenner, half Caitlyn Jenner. And he joined some really interesting company, that have lost a testicle, because you've got Napoleon Bonaparte, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Michelle Obama. You got and so and so, and that's not where the bad choices ended. They take him to the hospital, and they said, "Sir, we have to make a prosthetic." Apparently, it's a thing. And what's really funny, well, I'll deviate off of it for a second. About one out of about every 5 shows I do, somebody comes up to me and confirms this because they either or they know somebody who has had a prosthetic, usually testicular cancer, stuff like that. But I'm blown away how many people have had this. But they said, "We need to make this replacement. We can make it out of plaster. We can make it out of silicone. Make it out of steel. We can make it out of wood." He said, "Whoa, back up." So did you just say I can have balls of steel? So now poor Rusty has more bad pun nicknames than he deserves. So fast forward to me knowing old Lefty. I didn't know him pre-twofer. I only knew him post-1fer. And I'd met him at this conference I was speaking at in Colorado, and I was like, I really need this guy in my life because he's going to give me good stories. Like, I know this, but also he needs a positive influence, and I can be that positive influence. So I told him, I said, "Hey, I'm flying out. I've got a couple more days here in Colorado at this conference, and then I'm flying out, and I've got to drive to some shows after this. How about I buy your plane ticket, and you can fly with me, and then you can help me drive, and I can just kind of pour some positivity into you." He's like, "Man, that'd be awesome." So I'm in Colorado a couple more days. The night before we fly out, I get a phone call, and it's Steel Magnolias himself. He says, "Nick," he said, I'm getting a little nervous. I've never flown before. Is there anything I need to know about the check-in process?" Well, what's one thing you have to walk through in airport security? There's a metal detector, right? And he's got steel ball. So I'm like, "No, you're good. I'll see you in the morning." I'm like a kid before Christmas. I'm so excited because I know what's going to happen. So we get there. That's the fastest I've ever got through airport security. I get on the other side, and he comes sauntering through there, and he walks through. Beep, so he's like, "Oh, it must be my belt buckle." So he's like, we all know it ain't his belt buckle. He walks through again. Beep. "Oh, it must be the change in my pockets." He's not putting 2 and 2 together. What's setting this thing off? Well, they pull him aside, and they said, "Sir, we're getting something showing up on here. We need to run a wand over you." So they set him off the side, and just happens to be facing right at me. And I'm watching as they run the wand. Beep, beep. By the third time, he finally put 2 and 2 together. What's setting it off? But before he could say anything, the TSA agent leaned in and said, "Sir, are you trying to sneak something in this airport?" Well, he's already nervous that he's, what's going on. And you never know when you're in that moment where it's really nervous and everything around you really loud. And so you say something really loud, but everything goes quiet. Is in that moment he goes, "No, ma'am, I got steel balls." And the whole airport's looking at him, right? They're just looking at him. And he starts panicking. Then he sees me and he's like, "No, ask him. Tell him. He's my friend. Tell him I got steel balls. Tell him I got steel balls. Tell him." And I'm looking now, the whole airport's looking at me. And I'm a good friend. So I'm like, I've never seen that man a day before in my life. Like, I just see him on the other side. He was acting a little squirrely. You might want to strip search him. And I turned around and walked away. And in that moment, I realized maybe I'm not such a positive influence in this young man's life. My favorite part of this whole story, though, is years later, we're fishing. And he's just serious conversation. He said, "I don't understand how God can love me and care for me. There's all these people in the world. How does God actually care for me?" And I said, "Well, let's pray that God shows himself to you in a way that beyond a shadow of doubt. He's talking to you and nobody else." And so we prayed that. We get done fishing. We go to a restaurant. Absolutely true story. We're at a restaurant where you eat the peanuts and throw the peanuts on the floor. It's a place called Phil's in Montgomery, Texas. He sits down, opens up a peanut, and there was only 1 peanut in the shell. True story. He grabs a second peanut, 1 peanut in the shell. Third, fourth, fifth peanut. Every peanut he grabbed had 1 peanut in the shell. He grabbed the peanut out of my hand, 1 peanut in the shell. All ours had 2. Everyone he opened had 1. He reached across the table, grabbed somebody else's 1 peanut in the shell. I told him, I said, "This is how much God loves you. Is he didn't make those peanuts disappear.
Yeah.
He knew you were going to ask that question before you asked it.
Yeah.
And he made those peanuts grow in an order.
Yeah.
That they were picked in an order, shipped, in an order, dumped out in that bucket in an order that you and only you would pick those up. That's how much God loves you. He planned that all out before you even asked it earlier today. And so I tell people, like, you know, if you think God can love an idiot like that, he can love you too. He cares for you. And so that's my favorite part of the whole story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was doing a show in his hometown in Colorado, and there was a lot of people there that knew him. And so the best part about it was we were flying one time, and they had the Sky Mall, and we're looking through it, and there was a golf ball ad. And it was a guy standing with his hands on his hip. It's from behind him looking out over a cliff, and he's got his hands on his hip looking. It says, "Lost your ball." And I ripped that out. It was in my office for years. Just and then I was watching um, uh, Veggie Tales. My kids were watching Veggie Tales, and it was
was
Pirates Who
best.
Don't Do Anything. Yeah, it was the Pirates Who Don't Do Anything. And there's a line where he says, "Now you're going somewhere. You got a steel ball." I rewound that, and I made that his cell phone ring. Like we've had so much fun with it since then. So he had to get it taken out because he lives in Colorado, and when you lick metal in the cold, yeah. And so he would go running, and he'd have to pour hot water on himself to get it unstuck. And so yeah, he had to get an actual real replacement prosthetic. So yeah. So
It's the little jabs in between like steel magnolias.
yeah. So that's how I write my comedy. I want my comedy to be, you can hear it 5 or 6 times, and there's layers to it, and you'll get something new. You'll get another, like, yeah. And
I heard them all. I was like, every single one of them. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
You're gonna watch this back, and you're actually gonna pick up on a couple more you didn't hear.
That's awesome. Every time I hear that, you always add something to it.
Yeah. No, I don't. I've been telling that.
Well, it feels like you do.
Because you're hearing another layer.
Yeah. So, but
I do change some jokes. I'm always, you write comedy in a wide range. So a 5-minute bit is a 30-minute write, and then you whittle it down to the best 5 minutes. Yeah.
But I crack up every time I hear it.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks, Nick, for coming.
I know it's longer than 30 minutes.
A lot longer, but that's fine. You want to go ahead and plug where they can follow you?
Yeah, nickmorrisoncomedy.com. Both of my speaking and comedy are on there. For speaking, you just go to nickmorrisoncomedy.com, and you can there's a thing that says for motivational speaking, click here, and it takes you to a whole other page. You can watch a 4-minute documentary, tells my story.
Great documentary.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's made it easier for me to not have to talk about myself. I can just they show that, and I can just jump right into this is what I learned.
Yeah.
And then you can follow me on social. I don't do YouTube because I had a joke when the Let's Go Brandon was big of, can you imagine being a liberal with a son named Brandon trying to cheer for him at a sporting event, let's go, buddy. And so they demonetized me over that, and I got mad and deleted all my stuff, a few stuff. So I'm not on there. But I'm on Instagram. I'm starting to rebuild it, nickmorrisoncomedy.com or at Nick Morrison Comedy. At Facebook, you can go to Nick Morrison Comedy or just at pnickm and follow me on that because I post more on there.
Okay.
And then I am going to start a TikTok. I've been fighting it, but
Heck yeah.
I am going to start a TikTok and put there on there. I had a contract dispute.
Going to the dark side.
Well, I had a contract dispute that wouldn't let me post videos for the last 2 years, so I haven't been able to post comedy content for the last 2 years. And I got out from under that contract, and so now I'm gonna start posting more. I did a show with Jaron Myers at the theater, and he's been posting stuff from it. It looked really good, so I'm gonna do some of that. I just did a mock deal for Dry Bar. We tried doing a special that we were gonna do with Amazon Prime, and just everything fell apart. Amazon Prime pulled their funding last minute, and then microphone. We had to fund it myself, and then a microphone issue ruined the entire special, and so all of it, lost all of that footage. There's a lot of money wasted. And so did a mock for Dry Bar the other day, and I'm going to cut that up, and maybe it wasn't a large crowd, it was just a throw together thing. I mean, it was like 60 people, and so it's not as raucous a laughter, but the footage turned out good. And so I'll start posting some more stuff on there, and so so nickmorrisoncomedy.com and at Nick Morrison Comedy.
Well, thank you, Nick, very much for being on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for having you on.
I had a good time. I had a great time.
Yeah.
We hope you guys at home enjoyed watching the podcast. Like, comment, subscribe, and make sure you go follow Nick on all his pages and keep up with what he's got going on. Thank you again, Taylor, for doing everything you do behind a laptop.
We got to get him a microphone.
And y'all remember
he ain't going to talk into it even if you give him one.
Yeah.
Hey, Taylor, tell us something.
Crickets.
That's what
Y'all remember to stay loud and support local. We love you guys. Thank you. Bye.